But that doesn't mean Destiny by itself. It walks, so I think First Ascendant can run, or at least in the long road, that's what it's gonna look like. However, the next year, I feel like if you're a Destiny fan, we're kind of left in the dark. And Paul Tassi, I love this guy. I've been watching tons of his videos recently. But Destiny 2, we just have no clue where things are going after this year because we have these echoes or these storylines that are happening after the final shape. And the final shape pretty much concluded a 10-year story that was Destiny. But now, after these echoes are done, it's like, what else are we going to be doing? What else is next? And I think that's what Paul is going to be saying here.
I am back with another Destiny 2 video. There's not a ton to report on, which is kind of what I'm reporting on.
I'll play Eminem right after this.
Are going to be extended seasons, so there's going to be kind of more breaks and downtime and whatever. We are still in week 1 of Act 2, but it already seems like in some ways there's not a whole lot to do past the story content or, kind of normal farming.
I also kind of want to try to play some COD a little later today because the Call of Duty World Championships are on.
But I want to talk more generally about this.
I don't want to get distracted. Destiny right now.
Sentiment. I've talked about how player count's declining and stuff, but I'll go a little bit into the reasons, which I think a good chunk of it is not necessarily just the structure of episodes that are seasons, but longer and reshuffled with more time gating. I forget who said it, but it was a comment on one of my last videos, I think, where he said that it's rearranging the furniture in the room, but it's the same room and the same furniture. Very good analogy there, commenter person who I don't remember your name right now. I'm sorry.
I'll give you the credit, but I can't remember your name.
Is that I think the community does not enjoy.
I think so many games are falling into this cycle right now where it's like everything is being time gated by seasons, and the duration of the seasons are so weird. Some are too short, like What's Human, that's resetting every 6 weeks. It's like, how can a casual person even come in and try that game? To a game like Destiny, where it's like the seasons are so long that even the casuals are sitting back like wondering when the next season or update's going to happen. We need to find some type of middle ground in these games. And personally, I think about every 12 weeks. I genuinely think, don't overcomplicate it. Look at the seasons and literally come out with a season for each season on the Earth. So you have a fall season, a spring season, a summer season, and a winter season, and you plan your story along those lines. And I think you can create something really cool and special that way. But no studio has developed something, at least on that cadence yet.
Being in the dark about the future,
which I understand. 4 season updates, not a lot, but you could pack a lot of stuff in those seasons to space it out, fill it out.
Is coming after this. I was not, I was expecting a sort of break like this, but I was not really expecting Bungie to be sort of this cryptic about what is happening. And some of that is short term. Some of this is, people have been asking on Twitter now, is Bungie still doing reprise raids? Are they going to do another reprise raid this year? Because they haven't talked about it at all. They did this detailed, Echoes thing in a live stream, and we had a whole live stream even just about Act 2, but they have never really mentioned the idea that they're going to keep going with reprise raids. The only one left from Destiny 1 is Wrath of the Machine, but obviously they could bring back, the Destiny 2 ones they vaulted also. It doesn't seem like they're going to, though, because we do not have a dungeon or a raid this episode, which is, I guess, not super surprising given Final Shape, but they did sell a dungeon pass, so there should be a dungeon per episode for the next 2 episodes. And if there's a dungeon, probably not going to be a reprised raid, because the cadence of the seasons, when there were 4 seasons, was nothing for the smaller season, then a dungeon, then a reprised raid, then a dungeon. Doesn't seem like they're doing that, but the point is they haven't said whether they're doing it or not. So I think people are sort of up in the air about it. And then it's this longer term idea of okay, what are we doing now? What is next here? Where pretty much in Destiny's entire lifespan, we sort of knew the rough cadence of this, where you get seasons, you get an expansion, and that keeps going. Sometimes the seasons are good, sometimes the seasons are bad, sometimes there's a good expansion, bad expansion.
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're shit.
I understand that people
most of the time they shit.
Is not a new game because it's Destiny 2 : Frontiers, but it's also, it doesn't seem like it's an expansion, because if it was an expansion, they would have said it was an expansion. So the running theory there is that it's the new era of Destiny, and obviously the big story theory is that we are venturing outside the solar system, probably driving the Dreadnought there. That seems a little well broadcast ahead of time, which is cool in
dope
concept,
ass Megami shirt.
How is this?
That's fire.
And there's a few theories about this that they'll just go back to the traditional expansion model, which I have a hard time believing they won't do this because they need something big to sell and justify this like $100 yearly bundle that they do with all the seasons and the dungeon pass and the expansion. And switching to like skipping an expansion and like just doing episodes in the future, like how does that work? Are you adding a new planet an episode? Are you adding one planet a year and then there's just 3 episodes in it with no expansion? Like there's a lot of questions this raises and we have no idea what's happening here. A theory I do not believe in, sorry Gathalion, is this idea that not only are we skipping an expansion, there's next year will be nothing but episodes, and then Destiny 3 will launch in 26. I've heard this a few times from a few different places, but like I can't get behind this idea. It does not make logistical sense unless Destiny 3 is like dramatically scaled back on like every front. They put so much work into the final shape. Like everyone, as far as we know, like essentially the entire company to some extent, if not like 90% of Destiny people were working on the final shape. They had the delay. They used that delay to put even more stuff in the final shape. I think that's when they did Prismatic and the Dread, and that was not going to happen before that. And now they're working on episodes in real time. And then whatever Frontiers is. And Frontiers is not Destiny 3. So
I would really. What is that one game that Destiny is supposed to? Marathon is has there been any updates on Marathon at all? I would love to see if we got. I want Marathon
2
to come
years
out.
from now, all of that stuff considered, no, we're not going to get Destiny 3. No way. Not then. You think they will
I think that the IP for Destiny, just to pick up where Paul's talking about real quick, is I think the IP you should just let it go. At this point in time, Destiny was a successful project. It was a successful story. Once the Echo storyline is done and wrapped up, allow it to be wrapped up and start something new. Get excited for something and give yourself a good challenge. We have a lot more freedom because now Destiny has so much story, so much lore, so much about it that has been set in stone. You don't have as much flexibility as a whole new story. At least for me, as somebody who loved the Destiny universe, that's what I'm excited for.
probably make it eventually, but not on that time frame. So, and if they're not, maybe they should say that because everyone keeps expecting them to announce Destiny 3 every year. I think if they are working on it, and I do assume there are plans for it, I get why they wouldn't say it because they don't want people to be like, all right, I'm leaving until Destiny 3 gets here, which some people are doing anyway, but I guess I can kind of understand why they wouldn't do that. If they were doing it, I would say before the next 3 or 4 years at least, it feels like it would be much smaller in scale. But I don't really. This whole leaving the solar system thing confuses me because, like, if we are leaving, if we are getting new planets, it would have made a lot of sense for Destiny 3 to launch with 4 or 5 completely new planets that we haven't been to. Whereas, Destiny 2 launched with, if not brand new planets and moons and whatever, brand new zones. And, like, they did add some old ones back eventually. But for a sequel, it feels like you would need a brand new slate, and the idea of like different enemy home worlds or new worlds or whatever in different solar systems would be a good jumping off point. But this is all just theorizing because we literally know nothing. And like this is like an industry which announces things years in advance or previews things, and that can be sometimes bad. But Destiny is also a game that laid out like its next 3 years of expansions and told everyone like well ahead of time like what was going on, and then they added an expansion, and like they've been pretty upfront about this. But now we have 2.5 episodes left and just the name of something that's coming next, and no one has any idea what that actually means. I think the unspoken thing here is Marathon. I don't know if some percentage of
Holy shit! I heard it. The word Marathon. There it is.
a hit on the level of Destiny or whatever, but it's a very important project for them.
I think they
it's
are.
their first. Well, it's not a new IP, but you know what I mean. It's their first new game working alongside Destiny in a decade. Sony, no doubt, has very high expectations for it.
Right
because
after
we've
this, we'll play some Eminem and
discovered
get
with
in the zone.
Many new multiplayer shooters. It is extraordinarily difficult to break through, even if you're a pretty good mechanical shooter. Like it's a problem. I wrote about Concord today, the open beta that has 2,300 players on, that is run by mostly ex-Bungie PvP people, or they're like the lead people in most of it. And combat is supposed to be good in that. I didn't play it, but that's what I've heard from people. We have things like the finals, we have things like X-Defiance, which a lot of people, there's good aspects to these, but fully breaking through is very tough. And I don't think Sony or Bungie will be satisfied with, something that succeeds on the level of Concord or the finals. Like, I think they want it to be bigger than that. As such, I feel like that is going to be the priority for Bungie for a while, even if like they're not stopping development on Destiny, obviously, but I think
definitely getting pushed down on the back burner though.
And they have more games in development. I think they canceled like one, maybe according to reporting, but They have other games being incubated. So it's complicated. I don't think Destiny's dead. I don't think they're shutting Destiny down or moving on. It's just this sort of frustrating situation where all players can see ahead of them are these 3 episodes. And so far, the first one is just sort of arriving to like mixed reviews. And like I've said before, like I think the breadth of content here is good. The battlegrounds are really good. There's strikes essentially. Other activities are good. I like the loot, but like the length of this, the time gating, story, I think is lacking this time around when we've had really good story stuff, last year and a half plus before this, ever since Lightfall, the story stuff's been pretty good. And it's not clicking with a lot of people. And so I think people are like, okay, there's 2 more of these, like, and then what? Like, that's the question. And we don't know. They have a roadmap, clearly. And like, I think we all can recognize that things can change on a roadmap, but like,
I'm interested in hearing
even
this.
just the general concept of what they're doing. Like, are they just doing more echoes? Are they still doing traditional expansions? Are they done doing reprised raids? What is the deal? And no one knows the deal other than the episodes and a code name for something. So we'll see.
I get it. We Destiny fans, people that are just enjoy Destiny, feel like we're left out in the dark, and right now we probably are. So, Rap God, Eminem.